Welcome. You have made it to the end of the day, and that matters. This is Bible Stories for Sleep, and tonight we are walking through Noah's Ark and the Great Flood together. Scripture reminds us that the Lord gives rest to the weary, and that is exactly what this hour is for. If these stories are a comfort to you, tap subscribe so the next one is always close. Now slow your breathing, soften your shoulders, and let the story carry you. The last rays of the sun, a muted ochre and rose, stretched long shadows across the ancient earth, painting the rough bark of the cypress trees with a fleeting warmth as the day began its slow, inevitable surrender to the twilight. A gentle breeze, carrying the faint, earthy scent of damp soil and distant, unseen blossoms, whispered through the broad leaves of fig trees, a soft, rustling murmur that mingled with the distant, rhythmic chirping of crickets beginning their nightly chorus. The air, still holding the lingering warmth of the day, was growing cooler now, inviting a sense of quiet introspection as the world prepared for slumber, the sky deepening into a vast, inky canvas where the first hesitant stars would soon begin to prickle through the fading light. Long, long ago, in a time when the memories of creation were still fresh upon the land, and the days stretched out in a rhythm that felt both ancient and eternal, there lived a man named Noah. He walked the earth with a quiet reverence, a spirit distinct from many of those around him, for his heart was turned towards the Creator, and his life reflected a deep, abiding connection to the unseen hand that had shaped the world. The world in those days was a place of vibrant life, but also of growing discord, a tapestry woven with threads of both profound beauty and unsettling darkness. The stories passed down through generations spoke of a time when the sons of God had looked upon the daughters of men, and a mingling had occurred, leading to a lineage of mighty ones, of renowned figures whose deeds, though perhaps grand in scale, often veered into territories of great wickedness and a profound forgetfulness of their origins. The earth itself, in its vastness and its intricate design, bore witness to the increasing corruption that spread like a slow, creeping shadow across the hearts of humankind. Noah, whose name carried the meaning of rest or comfort, was a man of quiet contemplation, a soul who found solace in the simple rhythms of life and in the unwavering presence of the divine. He was the son of Lamech, and his lineage traced back through the prophet Methuselah, the prophet Enoch, the prophet Jared, the prophet Mahalalel, the prophet Kenan, the prophet Enosh, and the prophet Seth, all the way to Adam, the first man fashioned from the dust of the earth. This was a time when lifespans stretched far beyond what we now know, when generations overlapped like ancient, gnarled roots intertwining deep beneath the soil, allowing for a continuity of memory and wisdom that is almost unimaginable to us today. Noah himself was already 500 years old when his three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, were born, their arrival marking a new chapter in his long and observant life. Imagine the weight of centuries of observation, the slow accumulation of understanding, that must have settled upon Noah's shoulders, allowing him to perceive the subtle shifts in the moral landscape of the world, the gradual erosion of goodness that was becoming increasingly evident in the daily lives of men and women. The Creator, looking down upon the earth, saw the extent of humanity's departure from the path of righteousness. It was not merely isolated acts of transgression, but a deep-seated inclination towards evil that had taken root in the very fabric of human thought and intention. The biblical text describes it with a profound sadness, stating that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. This was not a fleeting moment of weakness, but a persistent, pervasive turning away, a constant inclination towards actions and thoughts that were contrary to the very essence of creation. And because of this widespread corruption, a deep sorrow settled upon the heart of the Creator, a profound regret that he had even brought humankind into existence upon the earth. The weight of this divine sorrow, a feeling so vast and encompassing, led to a decision of immense consequence, to blot out, to wipe away, all the living creatures that had been made, from the human beings who walked upright upon the land to the creeping things that moved silently through the undergrowth, and even the birds that soared through the boundless skies. The very breath of life, which had been so lovingly bestowed, was now to be withdrawn. Yet, amidst this sweeping judgment, a single beacon of hope remained, a quiet testament to enduring faithfulness. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. This simple phrase, so profound in its implication, sets Noah apart, distinguishing him from the vast majority of his contemporaries. It suggests a relationship, a connection, a resonance between Noah's spirit and the divine will that was unique in that darkening age. He was described as a righteous man, blameless in his generation, a man who walked with God. To walk with God, in the ancient understanding, was to live in constant communion, to align one's steps with the divine path, to carry oneself with an integrity that reflected a deeper truth. It was not merely outward adherence to rules, but an inward disposition, a purity of heart and purpose that set him apart. In a world where violence and corruption were rampant, Noah maintained a steadfastness, a quiet devotion that was both remarkable and rare. One day, as the sun climbed slowly towards its zenith, casting a warm, golden light over the fields where Noah might have been tending his flocks or observing the slow growth of his crops, a voice, not of this world, yet clear and resonant within his spirit, spoke to him. It was the voice of the Creator, and its message was one of both profound sorrow and extraordinary instruction. The Creator revealed the depth of his grief over the state of humanity, explaining that the end of all flesh had come before him, for the earth was filled with violence because of them. The very ground, which had once yielded its bounty and harmony, was now stained by the discord and aggression of its inhabitants. And then came the astonishing command, a directive that would reshape Noah's entire life and the course of history itself. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. The words would have resonated in Noah's mind, perhaps echoing with the rustling of leaves or the distant call of a bird. Gopher wood, a term that has puzzled scholars for centuries, is often thought to refer to cypress wood, a timber known for its strength, durability, and resistance to decay, qualities that would be absolutely essential for a vessel of such immense purpose. Imagine Noah, a man of the land, perhaps accustomed to building simple shelters or fences, now faced with the monumental task of constructing a colossal ship, unlike anything he or anyone else had ever seen. The instructions were precise, leaving no room for error or personal interpretation. He was to make rooms in the ark, compartments within its vast interior, and to pitch it within and without with pitch. This pitch, a dark, thick, resinous substance, likely bitumen or tar, would serve as a sealant, making the massive wooden structure watertight, a crucial element for its survival against the coming deluge. The smell of this pitch, pungent and earthy, would soon become a constant companion throughout the long years of construction, clinging to his clothes, his hands, and filling the air around the burgeoning structure. The dimensions given were staggering. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, its breadth 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. A cubit, an ancient unit of measurement, was typically the length from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger, varying slightly by region and era, but generally estimated to be around 18 to 22 inches. Taking a conservative estimate of 18 inches per cubit, this meant the ark would be approximately 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. To put this into perspective, this was a vessel roughly the length of 1.5 American football fields and as tall as a 4-story building. It was an engineering marvel, far exceeding the scale of any known seafaring vessel of that ancient period. The sheer audacity of the project, the immense scale of the undertaking, would have been almost unfathomable. And a window, a single opening for light and air, was to be made for the ark, finishing it to a cubit from the top. This suggests a continuous opening, perhaps a sort of clerestory window running along the upper perimeter, allowing light to filter down into the vast interior spaces. And the door of the ark, the sole point of entry and exit, was to be set in its side. Furthermore, the ark was to be made with lower, second, and third decks, creating multiple levels within its immense structure, each designed to house the various inhabitants and their provisions. Imagine the intricate scaffolding, the massive timbers being hauled and shaped, the constant, rhythmic sound of axes striking wood, the rasp of saws, the thud of mallets, all echoing across the landscape, a symphony of creation amidst a world oblivious to its impending doom. Noah, in his unwavering faith, did exactly as he was commanded. He did not question, he did not hesitate, he did not seek to negotiate. Thus Noah did, according to all that God commanded him, so he did. This simple statement underscores his profound obedience, a quiet, steadfast trust in the divine word. The task was not a small one, nor was it quick. It would have taken decades, perhaps even a century or more, to gather the materials, fell the trees, shape the timbers, and construct such a monumental vessel. During this time, the world around him continued in its accustomed ways. People married and were given in marriage, they bought and sold, they planted and built. The daily rhythms of life, filled with their joys and sorrows, their triumphs and their conflicts, continued unabated, largely ignoring the strange, colossal structure slowly rising on the horizon. Perhaps some scoffed, others might have been curious, but few, if any, truly understood the profound significance of Noah's labor. The smell of fresh-cut gopher wood, the pungent aroma of bitumen, the sounds of construction would have become a familiar, if perplexing, part of the landscape for those who live freely nearby. The Creator then revealed the terrifying purpose of this immense undertaking, for behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh in which is the breath of life from under heaven. Everything that is on the earth shall die. The words would have carried the weight of an unimaginable cataclysm, a complete cleansing of the world. Yet, amidst this pronouncement of destruction, came the promise of preservation, a covenant of life. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. This was a promise of continuity, a divine assurance that a remnant would be saved, that life would persist beyond the coming devastation. And with them, a vast menagerie of living creatures was to be gathered. And of every living thing of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female." This instruction extended beyond the immediate family, encompassing the entire animal kingdom. From the smallest creeping insect to the largest beast of the field, representatives of each kind were to be brought into the ark. And not just any two, but a male and a female, ensuring the continuation of their species. The logistics of this alone would have been overwhelming, yet the divine promise was that they would come to you, suggesting a miraculous gathering, a natural inclination of the animals towards the safety of the ark, guided by an unseen hand. The sounds of their diverse calls and movements would eventually fill the air around the ark, a cacophony of life converging. Furthermore, of clean animals, those deemed suitable for sacrifice and consumption according to later Mosaic law, Noah was instructed to take 7 pairs, male and female, and of birds of the heavens 7 pairs, male and female, to keep offspring alive on the face of all the earth. This distinction between clean and unclean animals, though codified later, hints at an earlier understanding of purity and purpose, ensuring not only the survival of these species but also providing a source of sustenance and a means of worship after the flood. Imagine the sheer volume of creatures, the variety of their forms, their colors, their textures, to the soft fur of a lamb, the rough hide of an ox, the delicate feathers of a dove, the scaly skin of a reptile, to all converging towards this single, colossal vessel. The air would have been thick with the scent of animals, a blend of earthy musk, damp fur, and the faint, sweet odor of hay. And for all these inhabitants, human and animal, provisions were necessary. Also take with you every sort of food that is eaten, and store it up with you, and it shall serve as food for you and for them. This required an immense undertaking of gathering, preserving, and storing enough to sustain such a diverse population for what would be a prolonged period of isolation. Grains, dried fruits, preserved meats, fodder for the herbivores, to the ark would become a floating larder, carefully organized and meticulously stocked. The quiet, rhythmic work of storing, labeling, and arranging these provisions would have filled many long days, the scent of dried herbs and grains mingling with the ever-present smell of wood and pitch. The construction continued year after year, a testament to Noah's unwavering faith and diligence. The sun rose and set countless times over the growing structure, its timbers slowly weathering, its pitch hardening. The seasons cycled through, from the warmth of summer with its long, dusty days, to the chill of winter with its biting winds and occasional rains. Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, along with their wives, worked tirelessly, their hands calloused, their muscles aching, their minds focused on the immense task before them. They were building not just a ship, but a sanctuary, a vessel of hope in a world teetering on the brink of oblivion. The sounds of their labor, the steady rhythm of their work, would have been a constant presence, a quiet counterpoint to the increasing clamor and corruption of the world outside their immediate sphere. Finally, after what must have felt like an eternity of labor, the ark stood complete, a massive, dark silhouette against the sky, a silent monument to obedience. The air around it, once filled with the sounds of construction, now held a different kind of anticipation, a hushed quiet broken only by the natural sounds of the landscape. And then, the time came for the gathering. The Creator spoke to Noah once more, instructing him to enter the ark with his entire household, for he had seen Noah to be righteous in this generation. And then, the animals began to come. Not driven by human hand, but drawn by an unseen force, they approached the ark in pairs, a steady, unhurried procession. The majestic lions, their tawny coats gleaming in the sunlight, walked alongside the gentle deer. The towering elephants, their massive forms moving with surprising grace, followed the smaller, scuttling creatures of the earth. The slithering snakes, the hopping rabbits, the lumbering bears, the swift-footed gazelles all came, 2 by 2, or 7 by 7 for the clean animals, their instincts guiding them towards the open door of the ark. The air would have been filled with a symphony of animal sounds, to the lowing of cattle, the bleating of sheep, the chirping of birds, the soft padding of paws on the earth. Noah and his family, with quiet reverence, guided each pair into their designated spaces, the carefully constructed compartments now filling with the warmth and breath of living creatures. The smell inside the ark would have been a complex blend of wood, pitch, hay, and the unique scent of each animal, a living, breathing tapestry of life. The birds, in their myriad colors and songs, fluttered and settled in the upper decks, their soft cooing and chirping adding to the growing hum of life within the vessel. Imagine the patience required, the careful handling, the quiet observation of each creature as it found its place, a sense of profound responsibility settling over Noah and his family as they oversaw this miraculous gathering. The sun, as it began its slow descent towards the western horizon, cast long, shifting shadows across the vast wooden sides of the ark, illuminating the steady stream of life entering its protective embrace. 7 days before the rains were to begin, Noah and his family, along with all the animals, were safely inside the ark. The door, which had stood open for the miraculous procession, was then shut, not by human hand, but by the Creator himself, sealing the ark and its precious cargo against the impending deluge. A profound silence would have fallen over the land outside, a quiet before the storm, a stillness that presaged the monumental change about to sweep across the face of the earth. Inside the ark, a different kind of quiet would have settled, a hushed anticipation, the soft breathing of countless creatures, the gentle rustling of hay, the rhythmic creaking of the vast wooden structure as it settled, waiting. And then, after those 7 days, the heavens opened. It was not a gentle shower, not a passing storm, but a deluge of unimaginable proportions. The biblical text describes it vividly. On that day all the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened. This imagery suggests not only rain from above, but also a cataclysmic upheaval from below, as if the very subterranean reservoirs of the earth, the ancient, hidden springs and oceans, were breaking through their confines. The sound would have been deafening, a roaring, thundering cacophony of water, crashing down from the sky and surging up from the ground. The air, thick with moisture, would have become a swirling vortex of wind and rain, obscuring the familiar landscape, transforming it into a chaotic, churning expanse. The earth, which had once seemed so solid and immovable, now trembled and groaned under the immense pressure of the rising waters. The trees, which had stood for centuries, would have swayed and bent, their branches eventually snapping under the force of the wind and the relentless assault of the water. The rain fell for 40 days and 40 nights, an incessant, unrelenting downpour that washed away all traces of the world that had been. The waters rose steadily, slowly at first, then with increasing speed, covering the lowlands, then the hills, and finally, even the highest mountains under the vast, expanding sheet of water. The ark, once firmly rooted to the ground, began to lift, gently at first, then with a slow, deliberate buoyancy, detaching itself from the earth it had been built upon. It was no longer a stationary structure but a vessel, adrift on the boundless, churning waters. Inside, the sounds of the storm would have been muffled, a constant, deep rumble, a rhythmic swaying as the ark began its journey on the surface of the flood. The air inside, though contained, would have carried the dampness of the outside world, a subtle chill, a constant reminder of the immense forces at play beyond its sturdy walls. The soft glow from the window high above would have been diffused, a muted, watery light filtering through the endless sheets of rain. The very foundation of the world was being remade, erased by the cleansing waters, and Noah, with his family and all the creatures entrusted to his care, was a silent witness to this profound transformation, adrift on the vast, boundless expanse of the water, the ark a solitary beacon of life in a world consumed by the deep. The rhythmic creaking of the timbers, the gentle rocking motion, the distant, muffled roar of the storm, all combined to create a unique, enclosed world within the ark, a world of waiting, of quiet endurance, as the waters continued to rise, covering every familiar landmark, every trace of the old world, until the ark floated alone on the surface of the deep, a testament to the enduring promise of life amidst the vastness of the boundless, churning waters that now stretched to every horizon, a vast, unbroken expanse of grey and green, reflecting the heavy, overcast sky above, a sky that had wept without ceasing for 40 days and 40 nights, a relentless downpour that had transformed the very face of the earth. Inside the ark, the rhythmic creaking of the massive gopher wood timbers, carefully sealed with pitch both within and without, would have been a constant, soothing lullaby, a testament to the meticulous craftsmanship and the unwavering faith that had brought this colossal vessel into being, a vessel unlike any ever conceived by human hands before or since. The air, though confined, would have carried the mingled scents of damp wood, of dry hay, of the earthy warmth of countless animals, a living tapestry of odors that spoke of life preserved, of a future held in abeyance. Noah, his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives, along with his own wife, would have moved with a quiet purpose through the dim passages, their footsteps muffled by the soft layers of straw and bedding, attending to the needs of their extraordinary cargo. The ark, as described in the ancient texts, was not merely a boat but a floating sanctuary, a meticulously planned habitat designed to sustain life through an unimaginable catastrophe. Its dimensions, 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high, translate to approximately 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high, a truly monumental undertaking for its time, requiring an immense amount of labor and resources, perhaps even a level of communal effort from those who, in the end, did not heed the warnings. The construction itself would have been a spectacle, a testament to a deep-seated conviction that defied the common understanding of the world, a world where such a flood seemed an impossibility, where the sun always rose and set, and the seasons followed their predictable course. Imagine the sheer scale of the work, felling ancient gopher wood trees, perhaps a type of cypress or cedar, known for its resinous properties and resistance to decay, then shaping the enormous timbers, planing them smooth, and joining them with pegs and mortise and tenon joints, all without the aid of modern machinery. The pitch, a thick, tar-like substance, would have been applied meticulously, layer upon layer, sealing every seam and crevice, making the ark watertight against the relentless pressure of the rising deluge. The interior would have been divided into numerous compartments, 3 decks high, providing separate spaces for the myriad creatures, each species carefully segregated, each pair or 7, depending on their clean or unclean status, housed in their own designated area. The logistics of feeding and caring for such a diverse menagerie, from the largest beasts to the smallest birds, would have been a daily, demanding rhythm, a constant cycle of preparation and distribution, of cleaning and comforting, a silent, shared labor that forged an unbreakable bond among the 8 human occupants. The sounds within the ark would have been a symphony of life, the lowing of cattle, the bleating of sheep, the chirping of birds, the rustling of straw, the gentle breathing of sleeping animals, all harmonizing with the steady creak of the timbers and the ceaseless, muffled roar of the water outside. There would have been no windows in the conventional sense, only a single opening, a tsoha, perhaps a skylight or a series of openings near the roof, designed to admit light and air, but not to offer a view of the submerged world. This design would have fostered a profound sense of isolation, of being utterly cut off from the familiar, yet simultaneously protected, cradled by the very force that had consumed everything else. The light filtering down from the tsoha would have shifted with the movement of the ark, casting long, dancing shadows across the stalls and passages, creating an ever-changing tableau of muted light and deep shade, a visual rhythm that punctuated the endless days. For 150 days, the waters prevailed upon the earth, a period of profound transformation, of the world being remade beneath the surface of the vast, watery expanse. This was not merely a flood, it was a global reset, a return to a primordial state where water covered all, reminiscent of the very beginning of creation before the dry land appeared. The ark, a small, self-contained world, drifted across this new, temporary ocean, its occupants living by an internal clock, guided by the rhythms of feeding and sleeping, of prayer and quiet contemplation. There would have been moments of deep reflection, perhaps, as Noah and his family considered the world that was, the leaves that had been leaved, the choices that had led to this cataclysm. They would have read the faces of their neighbors, the fields they had tilled, the skies they had known, now all swallowed by the indifferent waters. Yet, within the ark, there was also a profound sense of purpose, a quiet understanding of their role as stewards of Levieth, as the fragile thread connecting the past to a future yet to be revealed. The ancient Mesopotamian narratives, like the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Atrahasis epic, also speak of a great flood, suggesting a widespread cultural memory of such an event, perhaps a localized but devastating flood in the region of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers that grew into a universal tale through oral tradition. While the biblical account emphasizes a global deluge, these parallel stories highlight the profound impact such a catastrophe would have had on early human civilizations, shaping their understanding of divine justice and human responsibility. The archaeological record in Mesopotamia does show evidence of localized, massive floods in various city-states, like Ur and Kish, where layers of sterile clay, several meters thick, lie beneath layers of earlier human habitation, indicating a sudden and catastrophic inundation that temporarily halted human activity. These ancient memories, preserved in clay tablets and oral traditions, echo the profound human experience of being overwhelmed by the forces of nature and the longing for survival and renewal. Inside the ark, the air would have been thick with the scent of life, a mixture of animal musk, damp earth, and the sweet aroma of stored provisions. The grains, dried fruits, and hay, carefully gathered and stored, would have been a constant reminder of their dependence on the earth's bounty, now temporarily hidden beneath the waves. The daily routine would have been a meditative practice, each task performed with deliberate care, each interaction with the animals a moment of quiet connection. The prophet Noah, a man described as righteous and blameless in his generation, would have carried the weight of this immense responsibility with a steady hand and a peaceful heart, his faith a quiet anchor in the midst of the swirling chaos outside. His wife, often overlooked in the narratives, would have been the quiet strength behind the scenes, managing the domestic needs, perhaps tending to the younger animals, offering comfort and support to her sons and their wives, ensuring that the human family unit remained cohesive and resilient. The days would have blurred into weeks, and the weeks into months, marked only by the shifting quality of the light from the Tsohar, the subtle changes in the ark's gentle sway, and the steady consumption of their stores. The world outside remained an impenetrable mystery, a vast, watery expanse that offered no clues to its depth or its duration. The very concept of time would have taken on a different meaning within the ark, detached from the cycles of planting and harvesting, from the familiar rhythm of day and night as experienced on solid ground. It was a time of suspended animation, of existence reduced to its most fundamental elements: breath, sustenance, and the enduring hope of dry land. The gentle rocking of the ark, sometimes more pronounced during periods of stronger currents or unseen turbulence, would have been a constant physical sensation, a reminder of their precarious yet protected journey across the boundless deep. After 150 days, the waters began to recede, a slow, almost imperceptible withdrawal, guided by a divine wind that passed over the earth. The ark, which had been drifting freely, now came to rest upon the mountains of Ararat, a majestic range in what is now eastern Turkey, a region known for its towering peaks and rugged terrain. The exact location is often debated, but the image of the ark settling gently on a mountain peak, perhaps amidst the snow-capped summits, after months of endless water, is a powerful one. This resting place would not have been a sudden, jarring halt, but a gradual grounding, a subtle shift in the ark's movement, a lessening of the constant sway. The sounds would have changed too, perhaps the muffled roar of the water outside slowly diminishing, replaced by the gentle whisper of the wind through unseen crevices, a sound that would have been a welcome harbinger of change. Even then, the earth was not yet dry. The waters continued to abate for many more weeks, a slow, patient process of evaporation and drainage, as the vast quantities of water found their way back into the newly formed oceans and seas, or seeped into the thirsty earth. Noah, ever watchful, ever patient, waited 40 more days after the ark had come to rest. The Tsohar, the single opening, would have allowed him to glimpse the sky, perhaps a clearer, bluer sky than they had seen in months, offering a hint of the world beyond their wooden walls. He would have opened the window of the ark, a momentous act, a tentative reconnection with the outside world, and sent forth a raven. The raven, a dark, intelligent bird, known for its scavenging habits and its ability to survive in harsh environments, flew back and forth, ranging far and wide, until the waters were dried up from the earth. Its return, or lack thereof, would have been a subtle indicator of the state of the world outside. The raven, in its nature, would have found sustenance in the receding waters, perhaps carrion left by the flood, or emerging insect life, and therefore had no immediate need to return to the ark. This first envoy offered a glimmer of hope, a confirmation that life, in some form, was indeed beginning to reappear beyond their wooden sanctuary. The quiet anticipation within the ark during this period would have been palpable, a mixture of hope and trepidation, as they waited for definitive signs of a habitable world. The air, though still confined, might have carried a fresher scent, a hint of a clean, washed earth, a subtle change from the mingled animal odors. Then, 7 days later, Noah sent forth a dove. The dove, a symbol of peace and purity, is a bird that prefers dry land and fresh vegetation. Its flight would have been a more specific indicator, a search for green life, for a place to build a nest. The first dove returned to him in the evening, finding no resting place for the sole of her foot, a poignant image of a world still largely submerged, still inhospitable to delicate life. Noah would have reached out his hand and taken her into the ark, a gentle act of compassion, bringing the weary bird back to safety. This return, though not yet a sign of dry land, confirmed that the waters were still too widespread for sustained life outside the ark, reinforcing the need for continued patience, for trust in the unfolding divine plan. The quiet flutter of the dove's wings, the soft cooing, would have been a brief, delicate sound in the otherwise constant hum of the ark, a small, living emblem of their enduring hope. He waited yet another 7 days, a period of quiet contemplation, of sustained hope, before he sent forth the dove a second time. This time, the dove returned to him in the evening, and behold, in her mouth was an olive leaf freshly plucked. This was the sign they had been waiting for, a tangible, vibrant piece of the new world, a symbol of life re-emerging, of the earth beginning to renew itself. The sight of that small, green leaf, perhaps still dewy, would have filled the ark with a profound sense of relief, a quiet joy that transcended words. The olive tree, known for its resilience and its ability to thrive in various climates, is a powerful symbol of peace, longevity, and renewal in many cultures, and its appearance here marked a turning point, a promise of a future where life would once again flourish. The delicate scent of the fresh leaf, a subtle aroma of green growth, would have been a stark contrast to the enclosed air of the ark, a breath of the new world. Noah knew then that the waters were abated from off the earth. Yet, he waited still another 7 days, a final period of patient observation, allowing the earth more time to dry, to firm up, to become truly habitable. This deliberate pacing, this measured approach, speaks to Noah's wisdom and his deep understanding of the natural world, as well as his unwavering trust in the divine timing. Finally, in the 601st year of Noah's life, in the first month, the first day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth. Noah removed the covering of the ark, perhaps lifting a section of the roof or opening a large hatch, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. The first true glimpse of the outside world after more than 1 year of confinement would have been an overwhelming sensory experience, the vastness of the sky, the distant mountains, the fresh, clean air, the silence of a world reborn. The light, unfiltered by the Tzohar, would have streamed in, illuminating every corner of the ark, revealing the accumulated dust and the wear of their long journey, but also bathing everything in the golden glow of a new beginning. The sounds, too, would have been different, the whisper of the wind, the distant calls of birds, the gentle rustle of emerging vegetation, all sounds of a world slowly coming back to life, a world cleansed and renewed, ready for the next chapter of creation. The scent of damp earth, of fresh air, of nascent plant life would have filled their lungs, a stark and welcome contrast to the enclosed atmosphere they had known for so long. The ground, though dry, would have still been soft in places, perhaps muddy in others, but it was solid, it was real, it was the promise of a new home. They would have seen the vast, empty landscape stretching before them, a testament to the immense power of the flood, but also a blank canvas, ready for the brushstrokes of new life. The very air would have felt different, lighter, freer, carrying with it the promise of open spaces and unlimited horizons. The sun, now unobscured, would have warmed their faces, a gentle caress after months of filtered light, a tangible reminder of the world's return to its familiar rhythms. The earth, once submerged, now lay before them, a vast, silent expanse, waiting for the footsteps of life to once again grace its surface. The silence, after the constant roar of the floodwaters and the mingled sounds of the ark, would have been profound, a deep, resonant quiet that spoke of a world reborn, a world ready to begin anew. The texture of the air against their skin, no longer confined, would have been a sensation of liberation, of boundless space, of a future unfolding. And so, they waited for the final command, for the moment when they would step out onto this new, cleansed earth, to begin the monumental task of repopulating and restoring the world, a task that would require immense courage, unwavering faith, and a deep reverence for the sacred trust placed upon them, a trust to nurture and protect the fragile spark of life that had endured the great deluge, a testament to the enduring promise of existence, and the resilience of the living world, now slowly, gently, beginning to unfurl its new green tapestry across the softened, cleansed earth. The ark, a vessel of improbable survival, now rested upon the formidable peaks of Ararat, its massive timbers creaking softly in the cool, high-altitude air, a sound that carried a profound sense of finality and new beginnings. For many long months, the world had been a boundless, churning expanse of grey-green water, a relentless, murmuring presence that had enveloped everything familiar, but now, a different kind of quiet had settled, a vast, expansive stillness broken only by the whisper of the wind through the newly exposed rock and the distant, almost imperceptible lapping of the receding waters. Noah, his weary eyes scanning the horizon from one of the ark's small, high windows, felt the profound weight of this new silence. It was a quiet unlike any he had known before the flood, not the bustling quiet of a village at dusk, nor the deep, resonant hush of a forest at midnight, but an emptiness that spoke of rebirth, of a world wiped clean. The air, thin and crisp at this elevation, carried the faint, earthy scent of damp soil and ancient stone, a smell that was both foreign and deeply comforting after the long, confined months within the ark's wooden walls. He could hear the soft, rhythmic breathing of the animals below, a symphony of slumber and quiet wakefulness that had become the constant soundtrack of their lives. The gentle rustle of straw, the occasional soft lowing of a cow, the almost imperceptible twitch of a sleeping bird's wing, these were the sounds that now filled the world, a testament to the life that had been preserved. The ark itself was a marvel of ancient engineering, a testament to a faith that moved mountains, or in this case, floated above them. Its construction, as described in the ancient texts, would have been a monumental undertaking, requiring not only immense physical labor but also a deep understanding of materials and structural integrity. The gopher wood, likely a type of cypress or pine common in the region, would have been chosen for its durability and natural resistance to decay, qualities essential for a vessel intended to withstand such an ordeal. The pitch, applied both inside and out, would have sealed every seam and crevice, rendering the ark watertight against the unimaginable pressures of the deluge. Imagine the rhythmic thud of hammers, the rasp of saws, the sticky, aromatic scent of heated pitch filling the air as Noah, his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives, toiled under the watchful eye of a divine directive. This was not a small fishing boat, this was a colossal floating sanctuary, designed to house not just a family, but representatives of every living creature, a task that would have demanded meticulous planning and unwavering dedication. The precise location of the mountains of Ararat has been a subject of quiet contemplation for centuries. While Mount Ararat in modern-day Turkey is the traditional site, the biblical text refers to the mountains of Ararat, suggesting a broader region rather than a single peak. This region, nestled in the Armenian highlands, is a land of rugged beauty, characterized by volcanic peaks, deep valleys, and fertile plains, a crossroads of ancient civilizations. The ark's resting place, high above the new sea level, would have offered a panoramic view of a world slowly re-emerging, a landscape stripped bare but holding the promise of renewal. The light, filtering through the high, thin clouds, would have cast long, soft shadows across the nascent land, painting it in hues of muted grey, soft brown, and the first tentative greens. Noah, leaning against the rough-hewn timber of the ark's interior, could almost feel the subtle vibrations of the earth beneath them, a gentle hum that spoke of stability after so much upheaval. The water level had been steadily receding for weeks, a slow, patient withdrawal that revealed new contours of the land each day. He remembered the day the ark first touched solid ground, a gentle, almost imperceptible bump that had sent a ripple of quiet relief through the weary inhabitants. It wasn't a violent jolt, but a soft settling, like a great ship coming to rest in a calm harbor. The animals, sensing the change, had stirred in their stalls, their soft murmurs echoing through the ark's cavernous interior. The first sign of life beyond the ark's walls had been the raven. Noah had sent it forth, a dark, darting silhouette against the vast, pale sky, hoping it would find dry land. It had flown out and returned, finding no place to rest its feet, a stark reminder that the waters still held dominion. Days later, he had sent the dove, a creature of gentler spirit, a harbinger of peace. The first time, it too had returned, its small body weary, seeking refuge back within the ark. But the second time, it had brought back an olive leaf, freshly plucked, a vibrant splash of green against its soft grey feathers. That tiny leaf, held carefully in Noah's calloused hand, was more than just a plant. It was a symbol, a promise, a tangible sign that life was returning, that the earth was beginning to breathe again. The scent of that leaf, a fresh, slightly bitter greenness, had filled the small space, a perfume of hope. The third time Noah sent the dove, it did not return. This was the most profound sign of all, a silent declaration that the world was ready, that the waters had sufficiently receded, and that the time for emergence was drawing near. Imagine the quiet joy, the profound gratitude that must have swelled within Noah's heart. After so many months of confinement, of the constant rocking motion, of the ceaseless sound of water, the prospect of solid ground, of open air, of the vast, silent expanse of a renewed world, must have been almost overwhelming. The animals, too, sensed the shift. Their instincts, finely tuned to the rhythms of the earth, would have told them that the time was approaching. The lions, once restless, now lay more calmly, their great chests rising and falling in deep, even breaths. The birds, whose songs had been muted by the ark's wooden walls, now chirped and rustled with a new anticipation. The air inside the ark, though carefully managed, still carried the distinct, earthy aroma of so many different creatures, a rich tapestry of scents that spoke of fur and feather, of damp straw and dried hay, of the subtle musk of wildness contained. Noah waited patiently, guided by an inner knowing, a deep connection to the divine will that had sustained them through the cataclysm. He knew that haste would be foolish, that the timing had to be perfect. The ground needed to be firm enough to support the weight of the animals, the vegetation sufficient to provide sustenance. The sun, though not yet fully revealed in its pre-flood glory, was beginning to warm the exposed slopes, coaxing forth the first tender shoots of grass and the resilient buds of hardy plants. The sound of the wind, once a mournful howl, now carried a softer, more hopeful melody, rustling through the sparse, newly exposed foliage on the mountain slopes. Finally, after what must have felt like an eternity, a clear command came, a quiet directive that resonated deeply within Noah's spirit: "Go out from the ark, you and your wife and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you of all flesh, birds and animals, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, that they may swarm on the earth, and be fruitful and multiply on the earth." The opening of the ark's door, a massive, heavy slab of gopher wood, would have been a momentous event. Imagine the creaking groan of the timbers as the seals were broken, the slow, deliberate swing inward, revealing not just the outside world, but the first glimpse of a new dawn. The light, streaming into the ark's dim interior, would have been blinding at first, a brilliant, almost painful contrast to the long months of subdued light. The air, fresh and cool, would have rushed in, carrying the clean scent of damp earth and distant, melting snow. The animals, sensing the release, would have stirred with a quiet eagerness. Not a stampede, not a chaotic rush, but a measured, instinctive emergence. The ancient texts suggest a peaceful, orderly procession, a testament to the divine order that had brought them into the ark and now guided their departure. First, perhaps, the birds, their wings stretching in the open air, taking flight with joyful chirps, circling the ark before soaring out over the vast, re-emerging landscape. Their calls, once muffled, now rang clear and free, a vibrant chorus announcing the return of life. Then, the larger animals, stepping cautiously onto the newly revealed ground. The elephants, their massive feet testing the earth, their trunks reaching out to sample the fresh air. The lions, their powerful bodies moving with a quiet grace, their eyes scanning the horizon with an ancient wisdom. The cattle, the sheep, the goats, their soft bleats and lowing adding to the symphony of reawakening. Each creature, in its own way, would have expressed a quiet wonder, an instinctive understanding of the profound change that had occurred. The ground beneath their feet would have felt firm, yet yielding, a comforting solidity after so much time afloat. Noah and his family, emerging last, would have stood together, their hearts full of an unutterable gratitude and a profound sense of awe. The world stretched before them, vast and empty, yet brimming with the promise of new life. The sun, now higher in the sky, cast a golden glow over the receding waters, illuminating the distant peaks and valleys. The air was crisp and clean, carrying the scent of damp earth, of pine, and the subtle, sweet fragrance of new growth. They would have breathed deeply, filling their lungs with the fresh, invigorating air, a sensation that must have been almost intoxicating after so many months of confinement. Their first act upon stepping onto the cleansed earth was one of profound reverence. Noah built an altar, not a grand structure, but a simple pile of stones, gathered from the newly exposed ground. This act, described in the ancient texts, was a universal human response to moments of immense significance, a way to connect the earthly with the divine. The stones, rough and unhewn, would have been placed with care, each one a silent prayer. The smoke from the burnt offerings, a sweet, aromatic plume, would have risen slowly into the vast, clear sky, a tangible expression of gratitude and devotion. This was not a ritual of fear, but of thanksgiving, a recognition of the immense mercy that had preserved them. As the smoke ascended, a breathtaking sight unfolded in the heavens. A rainbow, vibrant and ethereal, arced across the sky, its magnificent colors painted against the receding storm clouds. This was no ordinary atmospheric phenomenon. This was a divine covenant, a visible promise from the Creator. The ancient peoples, including Noah's contemporaries, would have understood the profound symbolism of the rainbow. In many ancient cultures, the rainbow was seen as a bridge between heaven and earth, a pathway for deities, or a sign of divine power. For Noah, it was a specific, personal assurance: I establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. Imagine the quiet tears that might have welled in Noah's eyes, the profound relief that would have washed over him and his family as they gazed upon this spectacular display. The colors red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, to each hue a silent word of reassurance, a testament to the enduring love and faithfulness of the divine. The air, still carrying the faint scent of the burnt offering, mingled with the fresh, clean scent of rain-washed earth, creating a sensory experience of profound peace and renewal. The sound of the wind, a gentle caress, seemed to carry the echo of the divine promise, whispering it across the vast, empty landscape. The task before them was immense: to repopulate the earth, to cultivate the land, to begin anew. But they were not alone. They carried with them the knowledge of the past, the lessons of the flood, and the unwavering promise of the rainbow. The earth, though cleansed, still bore the scars of the cataclysm, the rearranged landscapes, the softened contours of mountains, the newly formed valleys. Yet, it was also a fertile canvas, ready to receive the seeds of a new beginning. The sun, now a comforting presence, warmed the land, encouraging the dormant life within the soil to stir and awaken. The sounds of the animals, now spread out across the landscape, were no longer confined, but echoed freely, a vibrant symphony of life returning to its natural rhythm. Noah, a man of the earth, a farmer by nature, would have instinctively turned his attention to the land. The first order of business would have been to establish a new home, a shelter from the elements, and to begin the arduous process of planting. The soil, enriched by the floodwaters, would have been remarkably fertile, ready to yield its bounty. He would have observed the patterns of the sun, the flow of the remaining waters, the subtle signs of the seasons beginning to reassert their ancient rhythm. The air, though still cool at this altitude, carried the promise of warmth, the gentle breath of spring after a long, unimaginable winter. The family would have worked together, their hands accustomed to labor, their spirits buoyed by the prospect of a new life. The rhythmic thud of axes felling trees for shelter, the scrape of hoes breaking ground for planting, the soft murmur of their voices as they planned and toiled, to these would have been the new sounds of their existence. The scent of freshly cut wood, of turned earth, of growing things, would have replaced the confined aromas of the ark. Each day would have brought new discoveries, new challenges, and new reasons for gratitude. The prophet Noah, as the patriarch of this new world, carried a unique burden and privilege. He was the bridge between the old world and the new, the keeper of memories, and the guide for the future. His wisdom, honed by years of walking with the divine, would have been invaluable to his sons and their families. He would have taught them not just how to cultivate the land, but how to live in harmony with it, how to respect the delicate balance of creation, and how to remember the covenant that spanned the heavens. The story of the prophet Noah's Ark is not just a tale of destruction and survival, but a profound narrative of hope, resilience, and the enduring promise of life. It speaks to the deep human need for connection, for purpose, and for faith in something greater than ourselves. The quiet moments after the flood, the slow re-emergence, the first breath of fresh air, the sight of the rainbow, to these are the moments that resonate, the moments that speak to the quiet strength of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming change. The earth itself, now a vast, quiet expanse, was beginning to hum with the gentle energy of renewal, the soft rustle of new leaves, the distant call of a bird, the subtle scent of damp earth drying in the sun, a world slowly, gently, begin to breathe again, a quiet, hopeful exhalation after the long, profound silence of the waters. The ark, a sturdy vessel of gopher wood and pitch, had come to rest upon the mountains of Ararat, its massive frame settled firmly into the ancient stone, no longer tossed by the relentless waves, but held fast by the very earth it had once floated above. The air inside the ark, once thick with the mingled scents of damp wood, animal musk, and the lingering aroma of stored grain, was now subtly shifting, a faint freshness seeping through the cracks and crevices, whispering of the world beyond its walls. Noah, a man whose hands had known the rough grain of timber and the smooth feel of a chisel, moved through the ark with a quiet grace, his steps measured and unhurried on the worn planks. His beard, now streaked with more silver than brown, framed a face etched with the deep lines of experience, of sorrow, and of profound gratitude, his eyes holding a distant, reflective gaze, as if still seeing the endless expanse of water even as the land began to reappear. He would often find himself by one of the small, high windows, not truly looking out, for the view was still largely obscured by the ark's own structure and the remaining mist, but simply feeling the subtle shift in the air, listening to the faint, new sounds that carried on the breeze. The rhythmic breathing of the animals, a constant, comforting presence for so long, was now punctuated by the soft chirping of insects from outside, a sound that had been absent for what felt like an eternity, a delicate symphony of life slowly reawakening. The mountains of Ararat, a majestic range that stretched across the ancient land, were not a single peak but a collection of formidable summits, their jagged profiles often shrouded in mist, their lower slopes covered in a patchwork of hardy shrubs and resilient grasses, even after such a deluge. The ark had found its resting place high up, perhaps on one of the broader plateaus or a gentle saddle between two peaks, a place where the receding waters would have left it safely grounded, far above the new valley floors. This region, known in antiquity as Urartu, was a land of rugged beauty, its volcanic peaks reaching towards the heavens, its valleys fertile and rich with mineral deposits, a place where early civilizations would eventually flourish, drawing sustenance from the very earth that had once been submerged. The choice of gopher wood for the ark, a material often debated by scholars, likely referred to a type of cypress or cedar, trees known for their strength, durability, and natural resistance to decay, qualities essential for a vessel meant to withstand such an unimaginable trial. The pitch, both inside and out, would have sealed the seams with remarkable effectiveness, creating a watertight barrier against the relentless force of the floodwaters, a testament to the ancient understanding of practical engineering and material science. Days turned into weeks, each one marked by subtle changes, like the slow unfurling of a fern frond after a long winter. The sun, when it broke through the clouds, felt warmer, its rays piercing the lingering dampness, drawing up the moisture from the earth in gentle wisps of steam that danced above the newly exposed ground. Noah would observe these changes with a quiet patience, a deep understanding that the rhythms of the earth, though disrupted, were beginning to reassert themselves. He knew that haste was not an option, that the world needed time to heal, to dry, to become hospitable once more. The animals, too, sensed this shift. Their restlessness, which had been a constant hum beneath the surface of the ark's quiet routine, began to subside, replaced by a more settled demeanor, a quiet anticipation. The lions would stretch, their great paws flexing, their amber eyes gazing towards the high windows with a new curiosity. The birds, their feathers preened and vibrant, would occasionally let out a tentative call, a soft trill that echoed in the wooden confines, a whisper of the open skies they longed for. One morning, as the first pale light of dawn filtered through the eastern vents, painting the interior of the ark with long, shifting shadows, Noah decided it was time to send out a raven. He had chosen the raven for its hardiness, its keen eyesight, and its ability to scavenge, knowing that if any land were truly dry, this intelligent bird would find it. The raven, a creature of glossy black feathers and sharp, knowing eyes, perched calmly on Noah's outstretched arm, its claws gently gripping his wrist. He spoke to it softly, a low murmur of words that were more a feeling than a command, a quiet plea for information. Then, with a gentle toss, he released the bird through the opening he had made, a small, square window high on the ark's side, which allowed for ventilation and observation without exposing the interior to the elements. The raven launched itself into the cool, damp air, a dark silhouette against the brightening sky, and disappeared into the vastness. Noah waited. He waited through the long hours of the day, through the quiet descent of twilight, and through the deep, starless night. The raven did not return. This was not entirely unexpected. A raven, being a carrion eater, might find sustenance on the still drying land, or it might simply choose to range far and wide, its wild instincts drawing it further afield. Its absence, while not definitive proof of dry land, suggested that there was at least enough exposed earth to sustain it, even if just barely. The next week passed in a similar rhythm of observation and quiet contemplation. The air grew perceptibly drier, the faint scent of damp earth now mingled with the sweeter, sharper smell of pine and distant rock. The sounds from outside became clearer, the rush of receding water in the valleys below, the rustle of wind through unseen foliage, the distant cry of an unknown creature. After another 7 days, a period of time that held a deep, almost sacred significance in the ancient world, often associated with cycles of creation and completion, Noah decided to send out another bird. This time, he chose a dove. The dove, a symbol of peace and purity in many cultures, was also known for its homing instincts, its gentle nature, and its preference for clean, fresh vegetation. If the dove returned, it would signify either that the land was still too wet, or that it found no suitable place to rest, no tender shoots or clean water. He held the small, white bird in his cupped hands, feeling the delicate flutter of its heart against his palms, its soft cooing a gentle vibration in the quiet air. With the same measured movement, he released it through the opening. The dove circled once, its wings catching the soft morning light, and then flew off, a tiny beacon of hope against the immense backdrop of the sky. The day stretched long and quiet within the ark. The children of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, along with their wives, moved about their tasks with a similar quiet patience, their faces reflecting a mixture of hope and apprehension. They had lived for so long within these wooden walls, their lives governed by the gentle rocking of the ark, the rhythmic sounds of the animals, and the constant presence of water outside. The thought of stepping onto solid ground again, of feeling the earth beneath their feet, was both exhilarating and daunting. They remembered the world before the flood, the lush landscapes, the familiar pathways, the bustling communities. Now, they knew, it would be a world utterly transformed, a blank canvas awaiting the touch of new life. As evening approached, a soft, golden light bathing the western side of the ark, Noah stood by the opening, his gaze fixed on the horizon. And then, a small, white speck appeared in the distance, growing steadily larger. It was the dove. It flew directly towards the ark, its flight strong and purposeful, and landed gently on Noah's outstretched hand, its tiny claws finding purchase on his fingers. In its beak, it carried a freshly plucked olive leaf, a vibrant green against its pure white feathers. The sight of it sent a ripple of quiet joy through Noah and his family. The olive tree, known for its resilience and its ability to thrive in harsh conditions, was one of the first plants to re-establish itself after environmental devastation. Its presence signified not only that the waters had receded sufficiently for vegetation to grow, but that life itself was beginning to flourish anew, a tangible sign of renewal and hope. The leaf was fresh, not dried or withered, indicating that it had been plucked recently from a living, growing tree. This was a profound moment, a silent affirmation that the long ordeal was nearing its end, a promise whispered on the gentle breeze. Noah kept the dove with him for another 7 days, allowing it to rest and regain its strength, perhaps feeding it a few choice grains from their dwindling stores. The olive leaf, carefully placed on a smooth piece of timber, was a constant reminder of the world outside, a small, green miracle. The air continued to dry, the sounds from beyond the ark's walls becoming more distinct, the distant murmur of water, the rustle of wind, the occasional cry of a bird that had perhaps found its way back to the newly exposed land. The animals inside the ark seemed to sense the change as well, their movements more eager, their calls more frequent, a collective anticipation building within the wooden confines. After this second period of 7 days, Noah sent out the dove once more. This time, he watched it fly off into the clear morning sky, a small, white arrow against the vast blue. He waited, as he had before, through the long hours of the day, through the fading light of evening, and into the quiet embrace of night. But this time, the dove did not return. Its continued absence was an even stronger sign than the olive leaf. It meant that the land was not only dry enough for vegetation, but also hospitable enough for the dove to find a new home, a place to build a nest, to find sustenance, to leave freely once more. The world was truly reawakening, stretching its limbs after a long, deep slumber. Noah then carefully removed the covering of the ark's hatch, a heavy, pitched door that had sealed them from the deluge. The rush of fresh air that flowed in was invigorating, carrying with it the clean, earthy scent of damp soil, the faint fragrance of distant pine, and the crisp coolness of the mountain air. He looked out, his eyes adjusting to the bright, open expanse. The waters had indeed receded from the earth, revealing a landscape that was both familiar and utterly transformed. The mountains of Ararat stood majestic and clear, their craggy peaks now free of the lingering mists, their lower slopes a mosaic of newly exposed rock and emerging greenery. Valleys stretched out below, still damp in places, but clearly defined, their contours softened by the recent deluge, yet vibrant with the promise of new growth. The sun, now high in the sky, cast long, sharp shadows across the rugged terrain, highlighting every crevice and ridge. He waited still, for a command from the divine, a clear instruction that it was time to leave the sanctuary of the ark. For another month, the family remained within the ark, observing the earth as it continued to dry, as the new world solidified around them. The air grew warmer, the ground firmer, the sounds of life outside more abundant and varied. The patience of Noah was profound, a deep trust in the unfolding plan, a willingness to wait for the right moment, never rushing, always observing, always listening. This period of waiting, of quiet observation, allowed the earth to truly recover, for the soil to become firm enough to support the weight of the animals, for the delicate balance of the new ecosystem to begin to establish itself. The flood had not merely washed away the old world, it had scoured it clean, preparing it for a new beginning, a pristine canvas upon which life could once again paint its vibrant tapestry. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the word came. A quiet, clear instruction, a gentle nudge from the Creator, indicating that the time had arrived. Noah, with a deep breath that filled his lungs with the fresh, clean air of the new world, began the process of opening the ark, not just the small hatch, but the great door that had been their entrance and exit. The task was slow, requiring the combined strength of his sons, the heavy timbers groaning as they were unsealed and pushed open. As the massive door swung inward, a wave of light and sound flooded the interior of the ark, a stark contrast to the dim, enclosed world they had known for so long. The animals, sensing the change, stirred with a renewed energy, their calls echoing through the wooden chambers, a symphony of anticipation. Noah then led them out, 2 by 2, just as they had entered. First came the great beasts, the lumbering elephants, their massive feet thudding softly on the newly exposed earth, their trunks waving cautiously, sniffing the unfamiliar air. Then the lions, their powerful bodies emerging into the sunlight, their eyes blinking against the sudden brightness, their roars, once confined, now echoing across the open landscape. The cattle followed, their gentle lowing a comforting sound, their hooves finding purchase on the damp ground. The smaller creatures scurried out, the rodents, the reptiles, the insects, each finding their way into the vast, new world. The birds, with a joyful flutter of wings, took to the sky immediately, circling above the ark, their songs a vibrant chorus of freedom. The air was filled with the sounds of their release, a cacophony of life re-emerging, a testament to the resilience of creation. Noah and his family were the last to step out, their feet sinking slightly into the soft, damp earth. The feeling of solid ground beneath them, after so many months of gentle swaying, was profound, a deep, grounding sensation that resonated through their very bones. They stood there for a moment, silent, taking in the vast, open expanse, the clean air, the brilliant sky, the towering mountains, a world reborn. The sun, warm on their faces, felt like a blessing, its light illuminating a landscape that was both ancient and brand new. The scent of damp earth, of fresh vegetation, of clean, cool air, filled their senses, a symphony of aromas that spoke of life and renewal. The ark, now empty, stood behind them, a silent monument to their journey, a vessel that had carried the hope of all living things through the greatest cataclysm the world had ever known. Their first act upon stepping onto the new earth was one of profound gratitude. Noah, guided by a deep sense of devotion, gathered stones from the surrounding terrain, carefully arranging them into an altar. This act of building an altar, a common practice in the ancient Near East, was a way to designate a sacred space, to offer thanks and establish a connection with the divine. The stones, rough and natural, were piled with care, each one a silent prayer. He then took some of the clean animals and clean birds, those designated for sacrifice according to the customs of the time, and offered them upon the altar, a burnt offering rising towards the heavens. The smoke, thick and fragrant, ascended into the clear sky, carrying with it the gratitude and reverence of Noah and his family, a sweet aroma in the nostrils of the Creator. This was not a ritual of fear, but of profound thanksgiving, a recognition of the immense grace that had preserved them. As the smoke curled upwards, dissipating into the boundless blue, a sense of peace settled over the land. And then, a covenant was established, a promise whispered from the divine to Noah and to all living creatures. A promise that never again would all life be cut off by the waters of a flood, never again would the earth be destroyed by such a deluge. As a sign of this everlasting covenant, a beautiful, vibrant arc appeared in the clouds, stretching across the vast expanse of the sky. The rainbow, with its myriad colors, a breathtaking spectrum of light against the receding storm clouds, was a visible, tangible symbol of this divine pledge. Each hue, from the deepest red to the softest violet, seemed to shimmer with hope and reassurance, a gentle reminder of the promise. It was a sign not just for humanity, but for every living creature, a universal symbol of peace and renewed life. The sight of the rainbow filled Noah and his family with a quiet awe, a deep understanding of the profound mercy and enduring faithfulness of their Creator. They watched it fade slowly, its vibrant colors dissolving back into the pale blue of the sky, leaving behind a feeling of profound peace and a renewed sense of purpose. The world was now truly theirs to inhabit, to cultivate, to nurture. The task ahead was immense, but they were not alone. They carried within them the memory of the past, the lessons learned from the flood, and the unwavering promise of the future. The earth stretched out before them, a vast, fertile expanse, awaiting their touch, their labor, their love. The air was fresh and clean, the sun warm, the sounds of life vibrant and abundant. The task of repopulating the earth, of tending to its newly cleansed soil, of building new homes and new communities, was a sacred trust. They would begin by cultivating the land, planting seeds in the rich, damp earth, watching new life emerge from the soil, a cycle of growth and renewal that would continue for generations. Noah, a man of the earth, a tiller of the soil, would soon plant a vineyard, its tender shoots reaching towards the sun, a symbol of the new beginning, a promise of sustenance and joy in the world that was slowly, gently, beginning to unfold before them, a canvas of greens and browns slowly drying under the persistent, gentle warmth of the sun. The air, once heavy with the scent of damp earth and the brine of the receding waters, had begun to shift, carrying instead the fainter, sweeter notes of emerging plant life, a subtle perfume rising from the newly exposed soil, hinting at the quiet, determined return of growth. The ark, now a silent, weathered monument to their survival, rested firmly upon the slopes of what was believed to be Mount Ararat, its massive timbers creaking softly in the afternoon breeze, a sound that had become a comforting, familiar presence in their lives. The mountain itself, a majestic peak rising from the Armenian highlands, would have presented a stark, yet beautiful, panorama, its lower reaches now gradually revealing the contours of the land, the ancient rock formations, and the rich, dark soil that had been cleansed and renewed by the Great Deluge. This region, known for its volcanic origins, would have offered a fertile ground, once the waters had fully receded, a promise of sustenance for those who had endured such a profound transformation of the world. The sun, now a benevolent presence, cast long, soft shadows across the landscape as it began its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of soft orange and rose, a gentle end to another day in this new, quiet world. The prophet Noah, his face etched with the quiet wisdom of one who had witnessed the world's undoing and its rebirth, often found himself gazing out from the ark, or from the small, temporary shelters they had constructed, his eyes tracing the distant horizons, searching for signs of permanence, for the familiar patterns of life to reassert themselves. He would stand, perhaps with his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, beside him, their figures silhouetted against the vast, open sky, their conversations hushed, filled with a mixture of wonder and the quiet contemplation of the immense task ahead. They spoke of the land, of where to begin, of the rhythms of planting and harvesting that their ancestors had known, now to be relearned and re-established in this profoundly altered world. The earth beneath their feet, though firm, still felt new, almost tentative, as if holding its breath, waiting for the touch of human hands to coax life from its depths once more. The days that followed the final departure from the ark were a gentle unfolding, a slow reacquaintance with the land. The family would have moved with deliberate care, their movements unhurried, almost reverent, as they explored their new surroundings. The sounds that now filled the air were different from the rhythmic drumming of the rain or the constant lapping of the floodwaters. There was the whisper of the wind through the newly exposed valleys, the distant cry of a bird, perhaps one of the ravens or doves that had been sent out, now returning to find its place in the world. The air carried the earthy scent of drying mud, mingled with the faint, sweet aroma of damp moss and the budding leaves of resilient plants, a testament to life's enduring will. Their first priority would have been to establish a more permanent dwelling, something beyond the confines of the ark. They would have used the abundant timber from the ark itself, carefully dismantling sections that were no longer needed for shelter, or perhaps gathering fallen branches and stones from the surrounding slopes. The construction would have been a communal effort, each man and woman contributing to the creation of a new home, a hearth around which their lives could begin to coalesce once more. The sound of axes splitting wood, the rhythmic thud of stones being placed, would have echoed softly across the quiet landscape, sounds of creation, of rebuilding, a stark contrast to the destructive roar of the flood. As they worked, the women, the prophet Noah's wife and the wives of his sons, would have been busy establishing a semblance of domesticity. Fires would have been kindled, their smoke curling lazily into the vast sky, carrying the scent of wood smoke, a comforting, ancient smell that spoke of warmth and sustenance. They would have carefully prepared the stores of food that had been preserved on the ark, stretching them out, mindful of the need to conserve until the earth could yield its bounty once more. The simple act of preparing a meal, of sharing it together, would have been imbued with a profound significance, a celebration of life, of survival, and of the quiet hope that now bloomed in their hearts. The land itself was a mystery to be unraveled. While the general contours might have been familiar from stories passed down through generations, the details were new, altered by the flood. The prophet Noah, with his deep connection to the earth, would have instinctively known where to begin. He would have observed the quality of the soil, its texture, its color, feeling it between his fingers, understanding its potential. The Fertile Crescent, the region where the ark was said to have landed, was historically known for its rich alluvial plains, fed by great rivers, making it an ideal cradle for early agriculture. Even after such a cataclysm, the underlying richness of the soil would have remained, perhaps even enhanced by the deposits left by the floodwaters. His thoughts would have turned to the vineyard. The cultivation of grapes was an ancient practice, deeply intertwined with human civilization, offering not just sustenance but also a source of comfort and joy. The process was slow, demanding patience and foresight, qualities that the prophet Noah possessed in abundance. He would have carefully selected a patch of land, perhaps a south-facing slope where the sun's warmth could linger, where the soil was well-drained and promised fertility. The act of preparing the soil, turning it over with simple tools, breaking up clods of earth, would have been a meditative one, a communion with the very substance of life. The scent of freshly turned earth, rich and dark, would have filled the air, a primal aroma that spoke of beginnings. He would have sought out wild grapevines, perhaps remnants that had survived the flood in sheltered pockets, or seeds carried by the receding waters. The careful selection of cuttings, the gentle preparation of the soil, the meticulous planting of each small vine, would have been acts of profound hope. Each tiny shoot, no thicker than a finger, represented a future harvest, a promise of wine to gladden the heart. The sun would beat down, warming the earth, encouraging the nascent life, while the cool mountain air would temper its intensity, creating ideal conditions for the slow, steady growth of the vineyard. As the days stretched into weeks, and the weeks into months, a rhythm began to establish itself. The family settled into a routine of tending to their immediate needs, exploring the surrounding landscape, and slowly, patiently, cultivating the land. The animals, too, would have begun to find their way in this new world. The sheep and goats, perhaps the first to be released, would have grazed on the emerging grasses, their soft bleats and the gentle clinking of their hooves on the rocky ground adding to the quiet symphony of life returning. The larger animals, the cattle, would have moved with a slower, more deliberate pace, their lowing calls echoing across the valleys. The air would have been filled with these sounds, a gentle chorus of life resuming its ancient patterns. The passage of time was marked not by clocks, but by the sun's journey across the sky, the phases of the moon, and the subtle shifts in the weather. The seasons, though perhaps altered in their intensity, would have begun to reassert their familiar cycles. The warmth of summer giving way to the crispness of autumn, the quiet chill of winter, and then the vibrant promise of spring once more. Each season brought its own tasks, its own challenges, and its own unique beauty. The family, now intimately connected to the earth, would have learned to read these signs, to anticipate the needs of the land, to live in harmony with the natural world. Noah, in his quiet moments, might have reflected on the immense responsibility he carried. He was not merely a survivor, but a progenitor, a steward of the new world. The covenant, the promise from the divine, would have resonated deeply within him, a guiding light in the vastness of the unknown. The rainbow, a fleeting arch of color across the sky after a gentle rain, would have served as a powerful, visual reminder of that promise, a symbol of hope and reassurance. He would have pointed it out to his sons, perhaps, their faces upturned, gazing at the ethereal beauty, understanding its profound significance. The story of the flood, of the ark, and of their survival would have been recounted often, not as a tale of terror, but as a solemn lesson, a testament to both divine judgment and divine mercy. It would have been told around the evening fires, the flickering light dancing on their faces, their voices soft, imbued with the weight of their experience. The younger generations, those born after the flood, would have listened with wide-eyed wonder, imagining a world they could never truly know, a world that had been washed clean. These stories would have woven themselves into the very fabric of their identity, shaping their understanding of their place in the world, of their lineage, and of their enduring connection to the divine. The quiet work of rebuilding extended beyond the physical. There was also the rebuilding of community, of family bonds, now strengthened by shared hardship and shared hope. The wives of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, though their names are not often spoken in the ancient texts, would have been integral to this process. They would have nurtured their children, taught them the skills of survival, instilled in them the values of resilience and gratitude. Their hands would have spun wool, woven cloth, prepared meals, and tended to the sick, their presence a steady, comforting force in the nascent society. The sounds of children's laughter, once a distant memory, would have slowly returned to the air, a joyful, innocent sound that spoke of a future unfolding, of generations yet to come. As the vineyard began to take root, its young tendrils reaching tentatively towards the sun, Noah would have watched with a quiet satisfaction. This was more than just a crop, it was a symbol of his faith, a tangible expression of his belief in the future. The slow, patient growth of the vines mirrored the slow, patient rebuilding of the world. Each leaf, each budding cluster, represented a step forward, a triumph of leave over desolation. The scent of the earth, warmed by the sun, mingled with the faint, sweet promise of future fruit, a rich, complex aroma that filled the air around the nascent vineyard. The cultivation of the vineyard would have been a labor of love, demanding constant attention. Pruning the vines, ensuring they received adequate water, protecting them from pests, to these would have been daily tasks, each performed with care and dedication. The feel of the rough bark of the young vines against his fingers, the sight of the delicate tendrils grasping for support, the sound of the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze, to these sensory details would have grounded him, connecting him deeply to the earth and its rhythms. He would have known the subtle changes in the light, the way the dew settled on the leaves in the morning, the hum of insects in the afternoon sun, all signs of the vibrant leaf returning to the land. And in time, the vines would have matured, bearing their first fruits. The sight of the plump, ripe grapes, heavy on the vine, would have been a moment of profound joy, a tangible reward for their perseverance. The process of harvesting, of carefully plucking each cluster, would have been a communal event, filled with a quiet celebration. The scent of the crushed grapes, sweet and earthy, would have filled the air as they began the ancient process of wine making. The juice, pressed from the fruit, would have been collected in large vessels, perhaps made of clay, and left to ferment, transforming slowly, mysteriously, into wine. This was not just a beverage, it was a symbol of the earth's generosity, a gift from the divine, a source of comfort and celebration in a world that was still finding its footing. The story of Noah's vineyard, and the wine that came from it, carries with it a deeper resonance. It speaks to the very essence of human endeavor, of the desire to cultivate, to create, to find beauty and solace in the natural world. It also subtly hints at the complexities of human nature, for the texts tell us that Noah, in his contentment, drank of the wine and became intoxicated, a moment of vulnerability that would lead to a significant family interaction. But for now, as the vines grew and the grapes ripened, there was only the quiet satisfaction of work well done, of life returning, of the earth yielding its bounty once more. The sun, now lower in the sky, cast long, golden rays across the vineyard, illuminating the vibrant green of the leaves and the deep purple of the ripening fruit, a scene of profound peace and abundant promise. The air, still carrying the faint scent of damp earth and new growth, was slowly, gently, beginning to cool as evening approached, bringing with it the quiet symphony of the returning night, the soft chirping of crickets, the distant hoot of an owl, and the gentle whisper of the wind through the leaves of the young vineyard, a world settling into its new, enduring rhythm, a quiet testament to the resilience of life, and the enduring promise of a peaceful existence on the rejuvenated earth. The days that followed settled into a rhythm of quiet rebuilding, a gentle cadence of life re-emerging from the long, watery silence. Noah and his family, now accustomed to the close quarters of the ark and the constant presence of the animals, found themselves navigating a world that was both familiar and profoundly new, a landscape reshaped by the immense power of the waters. The earth, still soft and yielding in many places, bore the marks of the flood, ancient contours smoothed, new gullies carved, and the very soil itself seemed to breathe with a fresh, damp scent, a rich, earthy perfume that mingled with the sweet, clean air. Each morning, as the first pale light of dawn stretched across the eastern horizon, painting the sky in soft hues of rose and gold, a gentle mist often clung to the lower valleys, slowly dissipating as the sun climbed higher, revealing a world glistening with dew, vibrant and alive. The immediate task was the tending of the vineyard, a small patch of land Noah had cultivated before the deluge, a place of quiet labor and hopeful anticipation. The vines, miraculously spared, perhaps rooted in a slightly higher, more protected spot, or simply possessing an inherent hardiness, now required careful attention. Noah, with his weathered hands, moved among them, pruning the new shoots, tying them gently to supports, his movements slow and deliberate, each touch a testament to his deep connection with the earth. The air around him would be thick with the scent of damp soil and the subtle, verdant aroma of the growing leaves, a fragrance that spoke of life and renewal. He might have paused, from time to time, to feel the rough texture of the vine stems beneath his fingertips, the smooth coolness of a fresh leaf, or to simply listen to the soft hum of insects beginning to return to the nascent ecosystem, a gentle, almost imperceptible buzzing that filled the quiet morning air. His sons, too, found their roles in this new beginning. Shem, with his thoughtful demeanor, might have spent his time observing the changing landscape, perhaps sketching in the soft earth with a stick, mapping out the new contours of the land, his mind already contemplating the future settlements, the places where new homes might rise. He would have noticed the way the light fell differently on the hills now, the altered course of the streams, the quiet persistence of nature reclaiming its dominion. Ham, ever practical, would have focused on the more immediate needs, perhaps gathering fallen branches for fuel, his strong arms carrying bundles of wood back to their temporary shelter, the rhythmic thud of his footsteps on the soft ground echoing in the stillness. He might have been the one to notice the first small fish darting in the newly formed puddles, or the way the birds, still somewhat tentative, began to build their nests in the branches of the surviving trees, their songs a little more confident with each passing day. And Japheth, with his youthful energy, might have explored further afield, his curiosity leading him to discover new springs bubbling up from the earth, or patches of wild berries beginning to ripen in the sun, his footsteps light and eager, his senses alive to the myriad details of the reborn world. The family's temporary dwelling, likely a simple structure built from salvaged timber and perhaps some of the ark's own planks, would have offered a comforting sense of enclosure, a place for rest and quiet conversation as the evenings drew in. Inside, the flickering light of an oil lamp, casting long, dancing shadows on the rough-hewn walls, would have illuminated their faces as they shared their evening meal, a simple repast of dried provisions and whatever fresh greens or fruits they could gather from the land. The air would be warm with the gentle heat of a small fire, its smoke curling lazily upwards, carrying with it the faint, comforting scent of burning wood. Outside, the night would be vast and silent, punctuated only by the distant calls of newly returned nocturnal creatures and the soft, almost imperceptible sigh of the wind moving through the nascent foliage. As the weeks turned into months, the earth continued its slow, deliberate healing. The rich, alluvial soil, deposited by the floodwaters, proved incredibly fertile, a silent promise of abundant harvests to come. The prophet Noah, drawing upon generations of agricultural knowledge passed down through his lineage, understood the rhythms of the land, the subtle signs that indicated the best time for planting, for tending, for harvesting. He would have watched the sky with an ancient wisdom, observing the patterns of the clouds, the direction of the winds, the changing quality of the light, all indicators of the earth's mood and its readiness to yield its bounty. The very act of tilling the soil, feeling the cool, damp earth crumble between his fingers, would have been a meditative experience, a deep connection to the life-giving essence of the planet. The vineyard, in particular, flourished under his care. The grapevines, with their deep roots, drew sustenance from the newly enriched soil, their tendrils reaching out, grasping for support, their leaves unfurling in vibrant shades of green. The air around the vineyard would have been filled with the gentle buzzing of bees drawn to the tiny, nascent blossoms, a soft, continuous drone that spoke of industry and life. As the grapes began to form, small and green at first, then slowly swelling and ripening under the generous sun, the vineyard would have taken on a lush, almost opulent appearance, a testament to the earth's generosity and the prophet Noah's patient labor. The sweet, heavy scent of ripening fruit would have begun to permeate the air, a delicious promise of the vintage to come. The process of winemaking, an ancient art, would have been a familiar one to Noah. In the ancient Near East, the cultivation of grapes and the production of wine were deeply ingrained in the agricultural and cultural fabric of society, extending back thousands of years before Noah's time. Archaeological evidence from sites like Haji Firuz Tepe in the Zagros Mountains, dating to around 5400 BCE, shows early signs of winemaking, indicating that fermented beverages were a part of human culture long before the biblical narrative of Noah. The process was often a communal effort, a time of shared labor and anticipation. Noah, with his family, would have carefully harvested the ripe clusters, their fingers stained purple with the juice, the air thick with the sweet, intoxicating aroma of crushed grapes. The grapes would then be placed in large, shallow vats, perhaps carved from stone or fashioned from sturdy wood, where they would be trodden by foot. The rhythmic squishing sound of bare feet pressing the fruit, the juice flowing freely, would have been a primal, satisfying sound, a direct connection to the earth's bounty. The fermentation process itself, a mysterious transformation, would have been observed with a quiet reverence, the bubbling and frothing of the must a visible sign of life's subtle alchemy. The resulting wine, stored in clay jars or animal skins, would have been a source of sustenance, a symbol of blessing, and a central element in their communal life. One evening, after a day of particularly strenuous work in the vineyard, Noah, perhaps feeling the weariness of his years and the profound weight of his unique journey, partook of the wine he had made. The setting sun would have cast long, golden shadows across the landscape, painting the clouds in fiery hues of orange and purple as it dipped below the horizon. The air would have been cool and still, carrying the lingering scent of damp earth and distant wood smoke. He might have sat by a small, crackling fire, its warmth a comforting presence against the evening chill, the gentle flickering light dancing across his face. The wine, perhaps a little stronger than he intended, or perhaps simply consumed in a moment of deep relaxation and contemplation, began to work its subtle magic. In the ancient world, wine was not merely a beverage, it was often seen as a gift from the gods, a source of joy and sometimes, in excess, a pathway to altered states of consciousness. It was a common part of daily life, used in celebrations, religious rituals, and as a dietary staple, often diluted with water. The potent effects of undiluted, freshly fermented wine could be quite strong, especially for someone unaccustomed to its full strength or simply weary from labor. As the warmth of the wine spread through him, the prophet Noah's senses, usually so attuned to the world around him, began to soften, his thoughts drifting, unburdened by the day's toils. The sounds of the night, usually so distinct to the rustle of leaves, the distant call of an owl, the soft murmur of the stream might have blurred into a gentle, indistinct hum. The flickering firelight would have seemed to grow softer, more diffuse, as his eyelids grew heavy. He might have leaned back, feeling the rough texture of the ground beneath him, the cool evening air on his skin, a deep sense of peace washing over him, a release from the immense responsibilities he had carried for so long. He drifted into a deep, dreamless sleep, his body sprawled in the shelter of his tent, the simple cloth walls offering a thin barrier against the vastness of the night. It was during this time, as the prophet Noah lay in his profound slumber, that Ham, his middle son, entered the tent. The reasons for his entry are not explicitly stated, leaving room for quiet contemplation and varied interpretations. Perhaps he was seeking his father for a question, or perhaps he was simply checking on him before retiring for the night himself. The interior of the tent would have been dimly lit by the dying embers of a small fire or the pale glow of the moon filtering through the fabric, casting long, indistinct shadows. Ham would have seen his father, deeply asleep, his body uncovered, a state of vulnerability that, in the cultural context of the ancient Near East, carried significant social and familial implications. In many ancient cultures, the nakedness of a parent, especially a father, was considered deeply disrespectful to witness, a breach of decorum and a challenge to patriarchal authority, particularly if it was then exposed or mocked. The concept of covering a parent's nakedness was a symbolic act of honor and respect, preserving their dignity. Ham's reaction, as read, was not one of immediate discretion or respectful covering. Instead, he observed his father's state, and then, rather than quietly withdrawing or covering him himself, he went out and told his two brothers, Shem and Japheth, about what he had seen. His words, though unrecorded, likely carried a tone that was perhaps mocking, or at least lacking in the solemn respect that was expected. The quiet of the night would have been broken by his hushed, perhaps slightly excited, whispers, the words carrying across the still air to where his brothers were. The telling itself, the act of divulging his father's vulnerability, was the critical element, a breach of familial trust and respect. Shem and Japheth, upon hearing Ham's account, responded with a different kind of understanding, a quiet reverence for their father's dignity. Their actions speak volumes about the prevailing cultural norms and their own sense of filial piety. They took a garment, perhaps a large cloak or a blanket, something substantial enough to provide full coverage. The fabric would have been coarse, woven from wool or linen, perhaps still carrying the faint scent of the ark, or the fresh, earthy smell of their new home. They approached the tent not directly, but walking backward, their gazes averted, their backs turned towards their father. This deliberate act of walking backward was a profound gesture of respect, a conscious effort to avoid looking upon their father's nakedness, thereby preserving his honor and their own. The soft rustle of the fabric as they carried it, the gentle padding of their bare feet on the earth, would have been the only sounds in the quiet night as they moved with careful, deliberate steps. They entered the tent in this manner, their backs to their father, and gently laid the garment over him, covering his exposed body. The act would have been performed with a quiet solemnity, a tender respect for the man who had guided them through the greatest cataclysm their world had ever known. The warmth of the cloth, the soft weight of it, would have settled over Noah, restoring his dignity even in his deep sleep. Having completed this act of filial duty, they would have quietly withdrawn from the tent, still moving backward, leaving their father to his rest, his vulnerability now respectfully concealed. The night would have then settled back into its profound stillness, the only sounds the distant chirping of crickets and the gentle sigh of the wind through the leaves, a quiet testament to the enduring bonds of family and the subtle complexities of human relationships, even in a world made fresh. When Noah awoke from his sleep, the sun would have been high in the sky, casting bright, clear light into his tent. The lingering warmth of the wine might have still been with him, a gentle haze in his mind, but as he became fully aware, he would have noticed the garment covering him. The morning air, fresh and clean, would have carried the scent of dew-kissed earth and the faint, sweet perfume of the vineyard. He would have gradually pieced together the events of the previous night, perhaps through a subtle shift in the tent's arrangement, or a quiet intuition that often accompanies such moments of vulnerability. It is not stated how he knew, but the narrative implies a clear understanding of what had transpired, and crucially, who had acted with respect and who had not. His awareness of Ham's actions, and the contrasting behavior of Shem and Japheth, led to a pronouncement that would echo through generations. This moment, often read to as the Curse of Canaan, is a complex and sometimes controversial passage, but in the context of the ancient world, it reflects deeply held beliefs about honor, shame, and the power of patriarchal blessings and curses. In ancient societies, a father's words carried immense weight, shaping the destiny of his descendants. A curse was not merely an angry outburst, it was believed to have tangible, lasting effects, a prophetic declaration of future misfortune. Similarly, a blessing was a powerful bestowal of favor and prosperity. Noah, understanding the implications of Ham's disrespect, and perhaps foreseeing the future trajectory of his descendants, spoke with the authority of a patriarch and a prophet. He declared, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brothers." Canaan was Ham's son, and thus Noah's grandson. The curse falling upon Canaan rather than Ham directly is a point of much discussion, but it is consistent with ancient patterns where the actions of a parent could have consequences for their offspring, and where the lineage of a son would be particularly significant. The words would have been spoken with a quiet gravity, perhaps under the shade of a newly leafed tree, the gentle breeze rustling through the branches, carrying his pronouncement across the quiet landscape. The air might have felt heavy with the weight of his words, a somber contrast to the vibrant life that was flourishing all around them. The future, in that moment, seemed to stretch out, already shaped by the actions of one son and the pronouncements of a father. Then, turning his attention to Shem and Japheth, Noah offered blessings, acknowledging their respectful conduct. He said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant." This blessing for Shem was a recognition of his spiritual devotion and his role as a preserver of faith. The phrase, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem," implicitly connects Shem's lineage with the divine, suggesting a special relationship with God that would continue through his descendants. The mention of Canaan becoming his servant further solidified the social hierarchy established by the curse. The words would have been spoken with a sense of quiet gratitude, a deep appreciation for the honor shown to him, the warmth of the sun on his face as he looked upon his son. To Japheth, he declared, "May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant." The blessing for Japheth, "May God enlarge Japheth," speaks of expansion, of prosperity, and perhaps of a wide-ranging dominion for his descendants. The phrase, "let him dwell in the tents of Shem," is often interpreted as a prophecy of cultural or spiritual intertwining, suggesting that Japheth's descendants would share in the spiritual heritage of Shem, or perhaps find refuge and community within Shem's sphere. These blessings, spoken with the quiet authority of a man who had witnessed the world's rebirth, would have settled upon his sons like a gentle rain, promising future prosperity and a defined place in the unfolding tapestry of humanity. The air, which moments before might have felt heavy with the curse, would have now seemed to lighten, filled with the quiet resonance of hope and destiny. These pronouncements, made in the quiet aftermath of a simple act of disrespect and a profound act of honor, set the stage for the future development of humanity, as understood by the ancient chroniclers. The descendants of Shem, Ham, and Japheth would, in time, spread across the earth, each lineage fulfilling the word spoken by their patriarch. The land around them, still fresh and vibrant, would continue to yield its bounty, the vineyard growing lush, the scent of earth and ripening fruit filling the air, a constant reminder of both the earth's resilience and the enduring promise that had been whispered on the wind, carried on the receding waters, and now settled gently upon the newly dried earth. The sun, a familiar friend once more, began its slow, deliberate arc across the sky each day, warming the air, coaxing life from the soil, and painting the horizons with hues of rose and gold as evening approached. The rhythm of life had returned, a gentle, insistent beat, a stark contrast to the tumultuous, all-consuming roar of the floodwaters that had so recently reshaped the world. Noah, now a man of advanced years, yet with a spirit renewed by the profound experience of survival and rebirth, found himself walking the familiar, yet subtly altered, contours of his land. His footsteps, once heavy with the weight of a world lost, now carried a lighter cadence, a quiet reverence for the ground beneath his feet. The earth, still damp in places where the last vestiges of the deluge lingered, offered a rich, fertile scent, a deep, earthy perfume that spoke of growth and new beginnings, mingling with the sweet, green aroma of burgeoning vegetation. The sounds around him were a symphony of leaf reawakened, the chirping of insects hidden among the blades of grass, the distant bleating of sheep, the lowing of cattle, and the soft, cooing calls of doves nesting in the newly leafed trees. These were the sounds of peace, of normalcy, a gentle balm to ears that had for so long been filled with the relentless drumming of rain and the unsettling creak of timbers. He would often pause, his gaze sweeping across the verdant landscape, a landscape that bore the scars of its recent ordeal, yet now pulsed with an undeniable vitality. The trees, though many had been uprooted and carried away, others stood firm, their branches now reaching towards the sun with renewed vigor, their leaves a vibrant, hopeful green. The soil, enriched by the waters, seemed to drink in the sunlight, promising an abundant harvest. His sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, along with their wives, worked alongside him, their hands calloused from labor, their faces tanned by the sun, their hearts filled with a quiet determination to rebuild, to cultivate, to nurture the fragile beginnings of a new civilization. They cleared debris, tilled the soil, and began to plant, their movements deliberate and unhurried, each action a testament to their faith in the future. The air, crisp and clean, carried the scent of freshly turned earth, of wood smoke from their small cooking fires, and the faint, sweet perfume of wild blossoms that had begun to emerge from the damp ground. The days were long, filled with purposeful activity, and the evenings brought a welcome respite. Gathered around the flickering warmth of a fire, sharing simple meals, their voices low and comforting in the deepening twilight. The stars, unobscured by the dust and haze of the old world, shone with an astonishing brilliance, a vast, silent canopy stretching across the heavens, a constant reminder of the immensity of creation and the enduring presence of the divine. Noah, in his wisdom, understood the profound responsibility that rested upon their shoulders. They were not merely survivors, they were the progenitors of a new humanity, entrusted with the sacred task of stewarding the earth and upholding the covenant that had been so miraculously established. He taught his children and grandchildren the lessons learned from the flood, not with fear or admonition, but with a gentle solemnity, emphasizing the importance of righteousness, of living in harmony with the natural world, and of remembering the source of all life. He spoke of the rainbow, not just as a beautiful spectacle, but as a tangible sign, a vibrant arch of promise painted across the sky after each rain shower, a visible pledge that the earth would never again be consumed by water. This symbol, a testament to divine mercy and enduring commitment, became a cornerstone of their understanding, a source of comfort and reassurance in a world still finding its footing. As the years unfolded, the small settlement grew, a testament to their perseverance and the earth's generosity. The vineyard, which the prophet Noah had planted with his own hands, flourished, its vines heavy with ripening grapes under the warm sun. The process of cultivation, from the careful pruning of the dormant canes in the chill of late winter to the joyful harvest in the late summer, became a deeply ingrained ritual, connecting them to the land and to the cycles of nature. The scent of fermenting grapes, a rich, heady aroma, began to fill the air during harvest season, a promise of warmth and sustenance in the cooler months. The sound of laughter, the playful shouts of children, and the rhythmic thud of tools against wood and earth became the background music of their lives, replacing the silence and the sorrow of the past. The knowledge of winemaking, a skill the prophet Noah possessed, was passed down through the generations, a practical art that provided not only drink but also a connection to the earth's bounty. The process itself was a microcosm of their own journey, the crushing of the fruit, the fermentation, the patient waiting, and finally, the emergence of something new and sustaining. It was during this time, as the world slowly healed and life found its new rhythm, that an incident occurred, a quiet moment that would echo through the nascent history of humanity, revealing the complex nature of human experience even in this pristine new world. One warm afternoon, after a long day of labor in the vineyard, the prophet Noah, seeking respite from the sun's persistent warmth, retired to his tent. The air inside was cooler, offering a gentle shade, and the soft rustle of the canvas in the breeze provided a soothing counterpoint to the buzzing of insects outside. He had partaken of the wine he had made, a product of his own hands and the earth's generosity, and the gentle warmth of it spread through him, easing the aches of his body and inviting a profound, peaceful slumber. He lay down, his breathing deep and even, and drifted into a sleep so profound that he was unaware of his surroundings, his body exposed in the quiet privacy of his tent. The sun, now beginning its slow descent towards the western horizon, cast long, dancing shadows across the landscape, painting the world in hues of orange and purple. The air grew cooler, carrying the faint scent of wood smoke and damp earth. It was at this moment that Ham, his son, happened upon his father's tent. Perhaps he was seeking his father for a question about the day's tasks, or simply passing by on his way to his own dwelling. He entered the tent, and there, in the soft, diffused light, he saw his father in his vulnerable state. A moment stretched, silent and heavy with unspoken meaning. The soft fabric of the tent walls, woven from animal hair or plant fibers, absorbed the sounds, creating a hushed, intimate space. The ground beneath his feet, covered with woven mats, offered a quiet, yielding surface. Ham's gaze lingered, and in that lingering, a boundary was crossed, a respect momentarily forgotten. He did not avert his eyes, nor did he quietly withdraw. Instead, he turned and went out, and finding his two brothers, Shem and Japheth, he recounted what he had seen, perhaps with a touch of levity, or perhaps with a simple, unthinking observation, but in doing so, he publicly exposed his father's vulnerability. The news, though whispered, carried a weight that settled upon the quiet evening air. Shem and Japheth, upon hearing their brother's words, felt a deep sense of disquiet, a profound respect for their father's dignity and the sanctity of his private space. Their immediate reaction was one of reverence and protection. They did not speak harshly to Ham, nor did they engage in gossip. Instead, with a quiet solemnity, they took a garment, perhaps a large cloak or a woven blanket, a piece of cloth that had been carefully spun and dyed, its texture soft against their hands. They laid it across their shoulders, a shared burden, a silent agreement to act with honor. Then, walking backward, their faces averted, their gazes fixed on the ground or the distant horizon, they entered their father's tent. Their movements were slow, deliberate, each step a testament to their respect. The soft rustle of the garment as they carried it, the gentle padding of their bare feet on the woven mats, were the only sounds in the hushed space. They did not look upon their father's nakedness. Their eyes remained steadfastly averted, a conscious act of shielding and honor. They carefully covered him, drawing the soft fabric over his form, restoring his privacy and dignity. The air in the tent, which moments before might have felt charged with an uncomfortable awareness, now settled into a quiet calm, a sense of peace restored. When Noah awoke from his deep slumber, the sun now lower in the sky, casting long, golden rays through the tent flap, he became aware of what had transpired. Perhaps the change in the air, the subtle shift in the arrangement of the tent, or simply the intuitive awareness that comes with age and wisdom, brought the understanding to him. He knew what his younger son, Ham, had done, and he knew how his other two sons, Shem and Japheth, had responded. The knowledge settled upon him, not with a sudden burst of anger, but with a quiet, profound understanding of the differing natures of his children and the implications these differences held for the future generations of humanity. He spoke, his voice perhaps a little hoarse from sleep, but clear and resonant with the weight of prophecy. He did not speak in haste, but with a measured cadence, each word carefully chosen, carrying the weight of destiny. He pronounced a curse upon Canaan, Ham's son, declaring that he would be a servant of servants to his brothers. This pronouncement, delivered in the quiet aftermath of a simple, human failing, was not an act of vindictive anger, but a profound observation of the consequences that ripple outward from choices made, from respect shown or withheld. It was a glimpse into the future, a foreshadowing of the complex tapestry of human relationships and societal structures that would emerge from their lineage. Then, turning his gaze toward Shem and Japheth, his voice softening, yet still imbued with the same prophetic power, he spoke words of blessing. He blessed the Lord, the god of Shem, signifying a special relationship, a spiritual inheritance that would flow through his line. He also declared that Japheth would be enlarged, that his descendants would spread widely, and that they would dwell in the tents of Shem, suggesting a future of expansion, perhaps of cultural and even spiritual integration. These words, spoken by the patriarch of the New World, became foundational, shaping the understanding of their respective destinies, echoing through the generations, influencing the paths of nations and peoples. The sun continued its slow descent, painting the clouds in fiery oranges and deep purples, casting long shadows across the nascent fields and the small, growing settlement. The air grew cooler, carrying the scent of damp earth and the distant bleating of sheep. The incident, though seemingly small, served as a quiet reminder that even in a world cleansed and renewed, the complexities of human nature, the choices between honor and disrespect, between compassion and indifference, would continue to shape the course of events. Noah, having spoken, perhaps felt a weariness settle upon him, not just from the day's labor, but from the immense weight of foresight, the understanding of the long, winding path that lay ahead for his descendants. He watched the last sliver of the sun disappear below the horizon, plunging the world into the soft embrace of twilight, the stars beginning to prick through the deepening blue, a silent testament to the vastness of time and the enduring promise that had been whispered into the very fabric of the earth. The air grew cooler as the night deepened, carrying with it the faint, earthy scent of damp soil and newly sprouted green things, a fragrance that was both ancient and utterly new, a testament to the world's rebirth. The prophet Noah, leaning against the rough-hewn timber of the ark's side, felt the cool breeze brush against his weathered face, a gentle caress after the long days of sun and the lingering dampness of the flood. The sounds of the animals within the ark had settled into a rhythmic, comforting chorus of soft rustles, gentle snorts, and the occasional sleepy chirp, a living symphony that spoke of peace and contentment after their long ordeal. He could hear the soft breathing of his family nearby, their forms indistinct shadows in the deepening gloom, each of them finding their own quiet solace in the returning normalcy of the night. The stars above, now countless pinpricks of light against the velvet blackness, seemed to burn with an unusual brilliance, as if washed clean by the recent deluge, each one a tiny, distant beacon in the vast expanse. He remembered the nights spent within the ark, the oppressive darkness that had pressed in from all sides, broken only by the flickering glow of oil lamps, and the ceaseless drumming of the rain on the wooden roof, a sound that had echoed the relentless pounding of his own anxious heart. Now, the silence was profound, broken only by the gentle murmuring of the wind through the newly leafed trees on the distant slopes and the subtle, almost imperceptible hum of insects beginning to stir in the undergrowth. He thought of the long, slow descent from the mountains, the ark settling gently onto the receding waters, a vast, ponderous vessel that had become their entire world for so many months. The ground beneath his feet, now firm and solid, felt like a miracle, a steadfast anchor after the unsettling sway of the waves. He recalled the first tentative steps onto the damp, yielding earth of Ararat, the strange sensation of solid ground after so long, the way his legs had felt unsteady, accustomed to the constant motion of the ark. The air then had been heavy with moisture, a thick, almost palpable mist clinging to the mountain peaks, and the silence had been absolute, a profound quiet that spoke of a world cleansed and awaiting new life. The first release of the raven, a dark silhouette against the grey, uncertain sky, had been a moment of quiet hope, a silent question sent out into the vast, unknown world. He had watched it disappear into the distant haze, its strong wings carrying it away, a tiny messenger seeking signs of life. And then, the dove, sent out again and again, each flight a testament to their enduring patience and faith. The memory of the dove returning with the fresh olive leaf, its delicate green a vibrant splash of color against the bird's soft plumage, was etched deeply into his mind. It was a tangible sign, a whisper of life returning, a promise unfolding before their very eyes. He could almost feel the smooth, cool texture of that leaf, its subtle, earthy fragrance, a harbinger of the new beginning. The construction of the altar had been a communal effort, each stone carefully chosen and placed, a physical manifestation of their gratitude and reverence. The smoke from the burnt offering had risen straight and true into the clear, blue sky, carrying with it their heartfelt thanks, a fragrant plume ascending towards the heavens. He remembered the warmth of the fire on his face, the crackle of the burning wood, the rich, savory smell of the sacrifice mingling with the clean, fresh scent of the air. It was a moment of profound connection, a silent communion with the unseen, a sacred ritual marking the transition from survival to renewal. And then, the rainbow. He had seen many rainbows in his long life, but none like this. It had arced across the vast expanse of the sky, a breathtaking tapestry of vibrant colors, each hue distinct and brilliant, yet blending seamlessly into the next. It was not merely a meteorological phenomenon, it was a sign, a covenant etched in light and water, a promise that resonated deep within his soul. He could still see its magnificent sweep, a gentle curve of hope against the receding storm clouds, a silent, powerful affirmation of life's enduring cycle. The air had felt charged with its presence, a palpable sense of peace settling over the landscape, a quiet assurance that the world would endure. He thought of the first tentative steps of the animals, emerging from the ark, their varied calls and movements filling the air with a renewed sense of life and purpose. The great lions, their tawny coats gleaming in the nascent sunlight, had stretched languidly, their powerful muscles rippling, before padding silently into the distant shadows. The elephants, with their ancient eyes and ponderous gait, had moved with a quiet dignity, their trunks exploring the damp earth. The smaller creatures, the birds and the insects, had fluttered and buzzed with an irrepressible energy, their tiny forms a vibrant counterpoint to the larger beasts. Each species, in its own way, had begun to reclaim its place in the newly washed world, a living tapestry unfolding before Noah's eyes. He had watched them go, a silent blessing accompanying each creature, a sense of profound responsibility fulfilled. The days had slowly lengthened, the sun tracing its familiar arc across the sky, bringing warmth and light to the revitalized earth. The seeds they had brought, carefully preserved within the ark, had been sown in the rich, dark soil, their tiny forms holding the promise of future harvests. He remembered the feel of the earth crumbling through his fingers, cool and moist, the subtle scent of its fertility, a promise of sustenance and growth. The first shoots emerging from the ground, delicate and green, had been a source of quiet joy, a visible manifestation of life's persistent will. He thought of the quiet conversations with his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, as they worked together, clearing the land, planting new vineyards, and building their first humble dwellings. Their voices, low and steady, had mingled with the sounds of their labor, the rhythmic thud of axes, the scrape of hose against the soil. There was a new seriousness in their eyes, a shared understanding of the profound responsibility that rested upon their shoulders, the weight of a new beginning. They were the inheritors of a cleansed world, the progenitors of all that would come after, and that knowledge settled upon them like a quiet mantle. The first vine he planted, a young, tender shoot, had been nurtured with care, its delicate tendrils reaching out towards the sun. He had watched it grow, its leaves unfurling, its branches strengthening, a living symbol of hope and perseverance. The scent of the earth, rich and fertile, had been a constant companion, a reminder of the ground from which all life springs. The gentle hum of bees around the nascent blossoms, the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze, these were the small, precious sounds of a world coming back to life, a symphony of renewal. As the moon began its slow ascent, casting a silvery glow over the landscape, Noah remained still, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon, where the faint outline of the mountains met the starry sky. The air was still, save for the whisper of the wind through the leaves of the newly grown trees, a soft, sighing sound that spoke of ancient secrets and timeless rhythms. The faint chirping of crickets, a steady, rhythmic pulse, began to fill the night, a gentle lullaby for the sleeping world. The distant hoot of an owl, a solitary call echoing across the quiet valleys, added to the profound stillness, a sound that was both comforting and a little melancholic, a reminder of the vastness of the night. The scent of damp earth and fresh vegetation was more pronounced now, mingling with the subtle, sweet fragrance of night-blooming flowers, a delicate perfume carried on the cool night air. He could feel the cool, smooth surface of the wooden ark beneath his hand, its timbers still holding the faint, lingering scent of the sea, a memory of their long voyage. The gentle breathing of the animals, a soft, rhythmic chorus, continued from within the ark, a testament to their peaceful slumber. The stars above, now countless and brilliant, seemed to twinkle with a quiet intensity, each one a distant, silent witness to the unfolding story of the earth. The cool air brushed against his skin, a soft, almost imperceptible touch, carrying with it the quiet murmurs of the night, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a night bird. The world settled into its deep, peaceful sleep, a soft, quiet embrace. The air grew cooler still, carrying the scent of damp soil and the faintest hint of wood smoke from a distant, unseen fire. The crickets chirped on, a steady, rhythmic pulse in the quiet darkness, a gentle, unending song. The soft, cool air, the scent of earth, the quiet hum of the night. The soft, cool air, the scent of earth, the quiet hum. The enduring promise that had been whispered into the very fabric of the earth. The air grew cooler as the night deepened, carrying with it the faint, earthy scent of damp soil and newly sprouted green things, a fragrance that was both ancient and utterly new, a testament to the world's rebirth. Noah, leaning against the rough-hewn timber of the ark's side, felt the cool breeze brush against his weathered face, a gentle caress after the long days of sun and the lingering dampness of the flood. The sounds of the animals within the ark had settled into a rhythmic, comforting chorus of soft rustles, gentle snorts, and the occasional sleepy chirp, a living symphony that spoke of peace and contentment after their long ordeal. He could hear the soft breathing of his family nearby, their forms indistinct shadows in the deepening gloom, each of them finding their own quiet solace in the returning normalcy of the night. The stars above, now countless pinpricks of light against the velvet blackness, seemed to burn with an unusual brilliance, as if washed clean by the recent deluge, each one a tiny, distant beacon in the vast expanse. He remembered the nights spent within the ark, the oppressive darkness that had pressed in from all sides, broken only by the flickering glow of oil lamps and the ceaseless drumming of the rain on the wooden roof, a sound that had echoed the relentless pounding of his own anxious heart. Now, the silence was profound, broken only by the gentle murmuring of the wind through the newly leafed trees on the distant slopes and the subtle, almost imperceptible hum of insects beginning to stir in the undergrowth. He thought of the long, slow descent from the mountains, the ark settling gently onto the receding waters, a vast, ponderous vessel that had become their entire world for so many months. The ground beneath his feet, now firm and solid, felt like a miracle, a steadfast anchor after the unsettling sway of the waves. He recalled the first tentative steps onto the damp, yielding earth of Ararat, the strange sensation of solid ground after so long, the way his legs had felt unsteady, accustomed to the constant motion of the ark. The air then had been heavy with moisture, a thick, almost palpable mist clinging to the mountain peaks, and the silence had been absolute, a profound quiet that spoke of a world cleansed and awaiting new life. The first release of the raven, a dark silhouette against the grey, uncertain sky, had been a moment of quiet hope, a silent question sent out into the vast, unknown world. He had watched it disappear into the distant haze, its strong wings carrying it away, a tiny messenger seeking signs of life. And then, the dove, sent out again and again, each flight a testament to their enduring patience and faith. The memory of the dove returning with the fresh olive leaf, its delicate green a vibrant splash of color against the bird's soft plumage, was etched deeply into his mind. It was a tangible sign, a whisper of life returning, a promise unfolding before their very eyes. He could almost feel the smooth, cool texture of that leaf, its subtle, earthy fragrance, a harbinger of the new beginning. The construction of the altar had been a communal effort, each stone carefully chosen and placed, a physical manifestation of their gratitude and reverence. The smoke from the burnt offering had risen straight and true into the clear, blue sky, carrying with it their heartfelt thanks, a fragrant plume ascending towards the heavens. He remembered the warmth of the fire on his face, the crackle of the burning wood, the rich, savory smell of the sacrifice mingling with the clean, fresh scent of the air. It was a moment of profound connection, a silent communion with the unseen, a sacred ritual marking the transition from survival to renewal. And then, the rainbow. He had seen many rainbows in his long life, but none like this. It had arced across the vast expanse of the sky, a breathtaking tapestry of vibrant colors, each hue distinct and brilliant, yet blending seamlessly into the next. It was not merely a meteorological phenomenon, it was a sign, a covenant etched in light and water, a promise that resonated deep within his soul. He could still see its magnificent sweep, a gentle curve of hope against the receding storm clouds, a silent, powerful affirmation of life's enduring cycle. The air had felt charged with its presence, a palpable sense of peace settling over the landscape, a quiet assurance that the world would endure. He thought of the first tentative steps of the animals, emerging from the ark, their varied calls and movements filling the air with a renewed sense of life and purpose. The great lions, their tawny coats gleaming in the nascent sunlight, had stretched languidly, their powerful muscles rippling, before padding silently into the distant shadows. The elephants, with their ancient eyes and ponderous gait, had moved with a quiet dignity, their trunks exploring the damp earth. The smaller creatures, the birds and the insects, had fluttered and buzzed with an irrepressible energy, their tiny forms a vibrant counterpoint to the larger beasts. Each species, in its own way, had begun to reclaim its place in the newly washed world, a living tapestry unfolding before Noah's eyes. He had watched them go, a silent blessing accompanying each creature, a sense of profound responsibility fulfilled. The days had slowly lengthened, the sun tracing its familiar arc across the sky, bringing warmth and light to the revitalized earth. The seeds they had brought, carefully preserved within the ark, had been sown in the rich, dark soil, their tiny forms holding the promise of future harvests. He remembered the feel of the earth crumbling through his fingers, cool and moist, the subtle scent of its fertility, a promise of sustenance and growth. The first shoots emerging from the ground, delicate and green, had been a source of quiet joy, a visible manifestation of life's persistent will. He thought of the quiet conversations with his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, as they worked together, clearing the land, planting new vineyards, and building their first humble dwellings. Their voices, low and steady, had mingled with the sounds of their labor, the rhythmic thud of axes, the scrape of hoes against the soil. There was a new seriousness in their eyes, a shared understanding of the profound responsibility that rested upon their shoulders, the weight of a new beginning. They were the inheritors of a cleansed world, the progenitors of all that would come after, and that knowledge settled upon them like a quiet mantle. The first vine he planted, a young, tender shoot, had been nurtured with care, its delicate tendrils reaching out towards the sun. He had watched it grow, its leaves unfurling, its branches strengthening, a living symbol of hope and perseverance. The scent of the earth, rich and fertile, had been a constant companion, a reminder of the ground from which all life springs. The gentle hum of bees around the nascent blossoms, the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze, these were the small, precious sounds of a world coming back to leave, a symphony of renewal. As the moon began its slow ascent, casting a silvery glow over the landscape, Noah remained still, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon, where the faint outline of the mountains met the starry sky. The air was still, save for the whisper of the wind through the leaves of the newly grown trees, a soft, sighing sound that spoke of ancient secrets and timeless rhythms. The faint chirping of crickets, a steady, rhythmic pulse, began to fill the night, a gentle lullaby for the sleeping world. The distant hoot of an owl, a solitary call echoing across the quiet valleys, added to the profound stillness, a sound that was both comforting and a little melancholic, a reminder of the vastness of the night. The scent of damp earth and fresh vegetation was more pronounced now, mingling with the subtle, sweet fragrance of night-blooming flowers, a delicate perfume carried on the cool night air. He could feel the cool, smooth surface of the wooden ark beneath his hand, its timbers still holding the faint, lingering scent of the sea, a memory of their long voyage. The gentle breathing of the animals, a soft, rhythmic chorus, continued from within the ark, a testament to their peaceful slumber. The stars above, now countless and brilliant, seemed to twinkle with a quiet intensity, each one a distant, silent witness to the unfolding story of the earth. The cool air brushed against his skin, a soft, almost imperceptible touch, carrying with it the quiet murmurs of the night, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a night bird. The world settled into its deep, peaceful sleep, a soft, quiet embrace. The air grew cooler still, carrying the scent of damp soil and the faintest hint of wood smoke from a distant, unseen fire. The crickets chirped on, a steady, rhythmic pulse in the quiet darkness, a gentle, unending song. The soft, cool air, the scent of earth, the quiet hum. And there we leave it, a story told, a night well spent. Thank you for trusting Easy Drift Sleep with your rest. If these stories bring you comfort, subscribing means we can keep making them for you. Good night. Sleep well.